Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Today we're here to introduce Datamine's new laboratory advisory service. I'm here with Ian Gilmore, our new senior laboratory advisor, and my name is Dion Borg. I'm the general manager for C-Class, our LIMS product here at Datamine. So the webinar, before we start, I guess by default, all of the attendees will be muted during the session. We plan to talk for about 20 minutes or so about this new laboratory advisory service, and that will leave kind of, 10 minutes or so at the end for you guys to ask any questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand like you see on the screen here. And then you're able to type in your question in the chat window, and if you see the chat icon flashing, you can actually see anyone else's questions as well. So a little bit about myself. Here's the obligatory dorky photo from myself from Year 12 chemistry. I'm doing some titrations here, so I think my only claim to fame for this was I was in a chemistry titration at school and got like 10th best in Australia, but so I am a chemist, right? So I did a degree in chemistry. That is my background. I worked in a nickel refinery in Queensland for about 10 years. And for that 10 years, we were obviously using a LIMS system, and it was C-Class. So I'm actually a previous customer of the C-Class product. So as a consultant, I have been with Datamine for about 12 years now, and I, started out, installing C-Class, configuring the requirements, training our customers, and supporting our customers. So from time to time, I still do visit our customers. There's a picture of myself with the guys from the New Century mine in northwestern Queensland. So I still do visit our customers, but as the manager, obviously my role now is really to manage the rollout and the support of the product globally. So I am keen to connect with people in my industry. So Martina will post a link in the chat section. So please reach out to me, add me on LinkedIn if you haven't already got me there. So over then to you, Ian, to present yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Ian Gilmore, obviously. I've had 40 years of laboratory experience, various types, mainly in the mining industry, over 35 years in the mining industry. You can see there on the screen, I managed ALS metallurgy in Balcatta, previously known in a previous life as Amtech. My business has been going since 2016. We offer all kinds of services to the mining industry mainly regarding laboratory work. So if somebody needs to build a laboratory, we can help them out. If they want to audit their current laboratory, we can help them out. Some of our clients have been with us for many years. We've had 3 visits to one mine site in particular. The other things that we can offer is things like tender documents, for example. If you want to install a commercial lab in your at your mine site, you need to make sure that they're going to do what you want them to do. So we have done tender documents previously, and the other things that we offer are things like equipment lists and so on for new laboratories, layout design, all that sort of stuff. So at the moment it seems to be specialising in lithium and gold, because those are the two, well, have been the two largest or greatest increase in mining in previous sort of 4 or 5 years. So that's pretty much the business in a nutshell. Yeah, I think back to you, Dion.
Yeah, so thanks, Ian. So also Martina will post Ian's LinkedIn profile as well. So please feel free to reach out and connect with him on LinkedIn. So you know, Snowden, which is part of the Datamine group, has been around since 1987. So Optiro was actually formed in 2008 by 6 ex-Snowden executives. So in 2021, Snowden and Optiro joined forces under the Datamine brand. So they actually provide geology, mining advisory services to help customers with mineral resource estimates, strategic mine planning, and feasibility studies for establishment of mine sites. So this kind of got me thinking into about establishing laboratory advisors under my team, and then speaking to some of my former laboratory colleagues who also believed that there was a need for that in the marketplace to help our customers with the technical aspects of running a laboratory. So then what I did was we reviewed our customers about providing laboratory advisory service, and as you can see here, it's above 80% of people that were C-class users were interested in having a laboratory advisor such as Ian to help with setup and configuration, laboratory procedures and auditing, etc. So, and we've kind of noticed, from our site visits as consultants over the past few years, that there seems to be less and less kind of classically trained laboratory staff on customer mining sites, because it is difficult to get skilled staff into remote areas. So I'll hand it over to Ian now so he can describe one of the audits that he's done with a previous customer.
Thanks, Dion. In about, I think it was about 2014, I was asked to go and, 2016, I was asked to go and look at a lab in near Yalgoo in WA. They had issues with their Aquaregia golds. Many of the labs in Australia, gold labs, use Aquaregia as a method. No problem with that. It does tend to report slightly low compared to fire assay, but they were having a major issue in that they were reporting very low, in the region of 20% low bias. We had arranged a visit, went up there, spent 2 days there, noted what was being done in terms of digest and comparisons of work showed evidence of low bias across the board, mainly at the high level, but also evident at the bottom end. Went away, came up with a program for them to investigate, and within, I think, about a week of my visit, we had solved the problem. The issue was the digest. It wasn't being done correctly, and the follow-up phone calls and so on, they gave evidence that the client was very happy with the outcomes and proceeded on from there.
Next page, Ian.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please. I can't change it.
Has that come through, Ian? I've changed it on my side.
Yes, it has, yeah. Yeah, so the digest method was incorrect, as I said. The procedure changed over in that week, and it did cause a further issue in that assays were now taking about an hour longer, but at least they were correct. So the end result was that it was a very short visit. I spent, I think, a total of about 12 hours on site. We came up with a program within a day of my return home. The investigation and test work took about a further 2 or 3 days. And then on about the 5th day after my visit, the issue was resolved. So what actually happened was we rang the client about 2 weeks later to make sure everything was on track, and he was happy. And yes, he was very happy. Thanks, Dion.
Next slide.
Yeah, so we can offer things like laboratory audits. We can give advice on building new laboratories of all kinds. We're currently working on lithium laboratories, 2 of them. We have designed laboratory layouts and so on for Cambodia. We've also, as I said previously, we've written tender documents for a company that was bringing in a commercial lab on site. We also supply procedures for certain things, and you know, a lot of these procedures are the key to successfully running a laboratory. If people don't have procedures, everybody's doing different things. If you don't regiment those procedures, people will make mistakes, or they'll write their own notes. They'll not trust the written procedure, go off and do their own thing. We can also do remote site visits. That's certainly not a problem. I've just finished my 3rd visit, as I said previously, to a site in WA, and they're going to institute yearly visits, probably yearly visits, maybe earlier, but probably in another year I'll visit again, and then we'll continue along that way. So yeah, it's a really successful business in terms of the satisfaction I get out of it. I see things that are wrong. I can give them the correction for their procedures. I can help them with their procedures. I can help them with their equipment. And yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction from that.
That's great. Thanks, Ian. I guess you know, we're here today, obviously, to launch our advisory service. So if you do want to find out a little bit about how Datamine can help your laboratory improve its quality, you can request a free 30-minute call with Ian and myself. And this is available for the first 10 people that want to contact us now. So Martina will place a link in the chat. So please go ahead, click on that, fill in your details, and then we can arrange a time to catch up and discuss how we can help you. And some tips of advice I guess we can offer our customers is if you do have quality issues in your laboratory, and obviously our advice is to take action on that as soon as possible by taking advantage of this service, right? Because as we all understand, once you have lost the trust of your clients about the quality of your data, it's really hard to win this trust back. And as Ian mentioned, you know, some of his customers are already, you know, budgeting for these regular audits, right? So, you know, we do recommend budgeting for regular audits because this will help drive continuous improvement in the laboratory. There's always going to be new instruments, new methods, and the industry knowledge from people like Ian that can help you take advantage of that and keep your laboratory current. And I guess it also goes without saying to have the right IT systems in place to keep your laboratory running efficiently and outputting quality data. And obviously, you know, in this day and age, you know, having a LIMS system is mandatory in, you know, modern laboratories, you know, not only for auditing purposes, quality control, and industry integration, but specifically for mining customers, we find having a LIMS system that offers real-time interoperability with plant systems so that there's no manually entering of data into other systems. And that's kind of the advantage that we offer here at Datamine with the C-Class product. And now, you know, we do understand, you know, there's a struggle with mine sites, you know, getting manpower. So look, our entire Datamine team is here to help your day-to-day duties easier, whether it be our advisory service or any of our other software packages that we have available. over to you, Ian.
Thanks, Dion. Yeah, look, anybody can ring me anytime. You know, we do have this free service available in the near future for the first 10, but I'm happy to talk to anybody about their issues at any time. You know, we don't, generally speaking, my business doesn't charge for that sort of issue. It's obviously things like audits and publishing of procedures or advice on procedures and that sort of thing we charge for. But as Dion says, it's very important to, as soon as you see that there's a problem, to act on it. You need to have the integrity of the data, obviously, but you also need to have the integrity of the procedures that you use. They've got to be right for and fit for purpose, and you know, do the job that you need done. Thanks, Dion.
Thanks, Ian. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. So we'll just open it up for any questions now. So please feel free to place any questions in the chat window and we can review those.
So I've got one question here for you, Dion.
Sure, go ahead, Martina.
How long does a laboratory audit take to complete?
Well, generally speaking, you know, I think Ian kind of mentioned the 1 to 2 day periods for, you know, checking out the laboratory and how it's running, and then 1 to 2 days for a report. So kind of, you know, within that week span, generally an audit can be finished. Anything you wanted to add to that, Ian?
Yeah, usually the longest lead up time is trying to get to site and get accommodation and flights. Generally speaking, the audit's very fast. The one that I just completed was 2 laboratories over 2.5 days, and they got their report. I got back on the last Friday. They got their report on Tuesday afternoon. So yeah, it's generally speaking, it's about 4 or 5 days. Depends on, you know, flights and things like that. Obviously, that can blow it out quite a bit, and you know, depends on the distance from Perth. Obviously, if I have done audits in Queensland and that's a bit tedious, there's usually 2 days getting there and 2 days getting home. So obviously, those sort of audits take a little longer. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Ian. Any other questions? Does anyone have any further questions on the call? Please feel free to put it into the chat window.
There's one more here.
Yes.
Why is it?
Go ahead, Martin.
Why is it important to have a LIMS in a laboratory? Because we're just using spreadsheets at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Martina. So, and obviously, you know, laboratories. And I first started out in the laboratory myself with running spreadsheets. But obviously, one of the biggest disadvantages from using spreadsheets is auditing, right? So you can't audit results in a spreadsheet. Obviously, one of the core features of having a LIMS product like C-Class is you can see who's changed what results. So if you are a NATA accredited laboratory, that is really important, right? Another thing is instrument integration. A lot of spreadsheets, you know, if you're using spreadsheets, you might have macro stuff, or if you don't have that skill set in your site, you're manually typing data in. There's a chance that data could be mistyped in, right? So obviously with integration and with C-Class, we do the 2-way integration for instruments. And what I mean by that is C-Class will create a sample information file. We will upload that onto the instrument. The instrument will analyze those samples, create an export file, and C-Class will read that directly into the software and do any weight corrections depending on the samples and the weights that have been recorded, right? So that's obviously really important for data integrity. Important in a mining space is automatic sample registration. Generally at mine sites, you've got process samples that come for the same time for the same analysis each day. And you don't have to manually do that with C-Class. You're able to automatically register those on a schedule and print labels and job sheets and worksheets if you want to. And then obviously quality control would be a manual process under spreadsheeting, whereas that's integrated as part of the LIMS, and C-Class is a very comprehensive quality control system. And I think finally, as I kind of alluded to in the slide, is the integration with external systems. And so there's no point in having a LIMS that's isolated from the rest of your mine sites. You know, we have the concept called CHD, which stands for C-Class Historical Database. So all validated data will get sent to an external database where any other external system in the plant that needs to consume laboratory data can get access to that. So that's really the advantages of having a LIMS system over just using spreadsheets. Any more questions at all?
So there's another one. What are the references you are usually using for the audit? Would be that based on the international standards or based on the experience, or only checking between the procedure and in the real work?
Is that something that you'll be able to answer, Ian? Yeah, sure. Look, it's based on experience. There is certainly plenty of guidelines on auditing, and as you know, in Australia, there's quite a few labs with NATA accreditation, and they need to be assessed by what's called a lead assessor. The experience I have enables me to go to labs and say, what are you actually trying to do, and how are you doing it, and have you documented how you do it? And those are really the main questions. Yes, there's lots of other questions that I ask them, but those are the main questions. We're trying to get to the root of any errors that are occurring. These may be systematic, or they may be related to particular people. It really can be a bit of a forensic issue to try and nut out what's going on sometimes, but you need to do it to make sure that the data that's coming out of that lab is fit for purpose and useful for your clients. Your clients, yes, they may not be commercial people, they may be the metallurgists in the next office, but at the end of the day, they've got to be able to use that data. If they can't use the data, or it doesn't make sense, you'll be going into their office and trying to explain what's going on. So it's very important to be pragmatic and know what's important to the business and what isn't. Yes, things like balances, checking balances every day is important, but if you're checking it and there's no records, for example, then have you checked it at all? These sort of things are very important in assay labs. You may not have accreditation, but all of these things are important for your clients. To be able to say to somebody, you know, how do you know that's 25 grams? And you say, well, I did a check weight every day for the last 6 months, and 25 grams comes up at 25 grams. So those are the sort of things that I look at, making sure that checks are being done, whether it be mass or volume, and that people are following those procedures each day and not just filling in numbers. Thank you.
Thanks, Ian. Any other questions at all?
I can't see any other questions, Dion.
Okay, thanks, Martina. If there's no further questions, I think we might finish it here. So just in closing, if you feel to reach out to me directly, obviously we've got that link in the in the chat window if you do want to contact myself and Ian to talk about the advisory service. Please reach out to us. So thanks a lot for your time today.